One of the biggest conundrums in fantasy football is when a rookie goes off and you're not expecting it. Now you're looking at the waiver wire, wondering what to do with this rookie because you were not expecting this rookie to go off, and now you're scared that he's going to be the next big thing, and you do not want to miss out, and you do not like this FOMO that's overtaking you, and you're catching those feelings with Parker Washington right now because he went off against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night. And we're going to go over the news, the facts, the data, the advanced metrics to see whether or not you need him for fantasy football. But what you need to do right now is click that subscribe button. Do it right now. Tap it with the finger on your phone. Click it with the mouse on your computer, because we're deep diving the waiver wire every day. We're helping you set your lineups. We're helping you find those diamonds in the rough. I'm a huge key to your resource when it comes to your drafts next year. If you do not hit that button, you might be missing out on that while your league mates are watching my videos, getting that information and advanced metrics to help them catch those players for cheap in their drafts. But let's dig in here. Christian Kirk suffered a core muscle injury on his catch last night. He's going to be getting surgery. He's going to be out for 8 weeks. Might be back for the Super Bowl. Might be back for the AFC title game. But you know what? That doesn't matter to us, because our seasons are going to be over by then. Our seasons usually in week 17. Week 18 if you're in a weird league. But he is gone for the season. R.I.P. Christian Kirk. Feel bad for you, but it's now time for us to move on. Also, news on Trevor Lawrence. High ankle sprain. Will not miss significant time. Status isn't certain for Sunday. Could be back, could not be back. Watch the news on that. But we know he's not out for the season. We know he's not out forever. So he's eventually coming back. So watch the rest of this video with that in mind. But Parker Washington going off. And technically his debut, 6 catches on 6 targets, 61 yards and a touchdown, 18 PPR fantasy points. His performance was blowing up Twitter. Everybody was talking about it. People are researching him up right now. People are wondering whether or not to pick him up on waivers. Maybe you got him off waivers already. But Parker Washington is the hot name going into week 14. We're talking about that today, whether or not you need him in fantasy football. So stay tuned, because we're going to cover those facts. But going back to his college days at Penn State, and you know what? Those numbers are not grandiose. 1,900 yards over 3 years, 12 touchdowns over 3 years. Remember, 2020 was the COVID year. He was sharing the field with Jahan Dotson. The quarterback situation at Penn State was not great back then. 820 yards during his sophomore season was his best year. His second year in 2021. Big numbers to note here. His ADOT, 10.1 on his career. 11.3 his best during his freshman season. 10.3 during his final year. So he was getting targets downfield, but that was out of the slot. 87.5% of the snaps were coming from the slot. He's a slot receiver. At a little over 200 pounds, he's a bigger slot receiver. Not a huge one, but he's thicker compared to a lot of other slot receivers at the NFL level. This creates mismatches, allows him to post up against safeties and linebackers. He has sticky hands, good range too. He can reach overhead, around to the side, strong hands, can pluck the ball out of the air. A very reliable wide receiver, very nuanced. He pegs well as a good slot receiver in a system like this. Honestly, this is a good fit for him, and the fact that he's getting his opportunity now could lead to something later, whether or not it's going to be these next few weeks, and whether it's going to be enough for him to be valuable in fantasy football is a different thing. But looking at the numbers here, his market share, his ownership of receiving yards in the Penn State offense, he broke out at age 18 with a 21.22% market share. Also followed that up at age 19, not 29, with a 23.49% market share. Although these numbers were not grandiose, they were not huge, not pushing 30 or 40%, these are indicators or prerequisites of wide receivers who hit at the NFL level to some capacity. So he hits those thresholds, which is an indicator that he could possibly be able to compete at the NFL level. because this shows that he can transition from one level of football to another. From the high school to the college ranks, he did it at a fast rate, which is what you need to do from college to NFL to be able to compete at the NFL level. Looking at his reception yards per team pass attempt, a little bit lower than average, but do not have the expectations that you have Jamar Chase here. Do not have the expectations that you have Justin Jefferson or Marvin Harrison Jr. He's a slot wide receiver. He's got some goods to his game, but all in all, he's good enough to get the job done. He's good enough to be on the field, but the odds are stacked against him from developing into a superstar wide receiver. Fell to the 6th round. The NFL said that. We've had 6th rounders hit, but the odds are severely stacked against him at this point. But he's on the field now. He's got opportunity now, and now it's his turn to prove himself, and we do not have any athletic metrics to really work with here. Broke out at age 18 on the Dominator rating. That's market share of touchdowns and yardage together. A good thing to see, a 20.6% target share, which is average at the college level, but still, it's better than below average. So everything's looking okay to good. Pretty good for a 6th round wide receiver. If you're looking at 6th round wide receivers, he's kind of got the profile you're looking at. A guy who broke out early, has a little bit of production. He's not grandiose. He's not going to wow you. He did some stuff at the Power 5 level. But looking at the situation here in Jacksonville, that's where we got to pay attention to. Christian Kirk going out is a huge deal. That's 84 targets gone. That's a 23% target share gone. And those targets aren't going to go to one guy. They're going to flutter around the offense. Parker Washington's going to get some of that. Parker Washington was in on about 60% of snaps. We should see that going forward. Zay Jones is going to be on the field a lot. 92% of snaps. He's going to be on the outside. He's going to be getting opportunities. Look for Zay Jones going forward to push for a 20+% target share. Maybe like 20, 21, 22. A couple more targets going to Calvin Ridley. A couple more targets going to Travis Etienne. Look for Evan Ingram to step up. But Parker Washington getting those slot targets is going to be huge. Him winning one-on-one with linebackers and safeties is going to be huge. This is going to be a huge opportunity. But for fantasy football, that's a totally different thing because Calvin Ridley's soaking up target share. Evan Ingram's going to get target share. You got a running back that gets a lot of the targets, and you got Zay Jones who's going to see an increase in target share. That being said, he's going to be hard to rely on, and he's also a diamond in the rough still that we're watching. We're watching hard. Cleveland, Baltimore, not the stickiest matchups, but he might hit a little bit in these matchups as the progression of targets funnel down the line as the pass rush and the defensive backs lock down these wide receivers. Maybe some targets go his way. You don't want to count on it, especially if Trevor Lawrence is out. But you got Tampa Bay and Carolina. Week 16 and Week 17 is something you may want to think about. However, are you going to trust it? Look at the target shares in this offense. And a 12-teamer, it's going to be very hard to do. It's going to be very hard to do. You got a lot of good wide receivers on the waiver wire, especially wide receivers who are seeing a 20+% target share. Jonathan Mingo's seeing a step up in targets. Romeo Doubs, if he's there, he's getting about 16% target share, but he's getting about 11 fantasy points per game. You got Elijah Moore seeing over a 20% target share. You got your upside wide receivers like Rashid Shaheed, Jameson Williams, Khalil Shakur. You got all these wide receivers to play with who are a little bit safer, so it's very hard to do in a 12-team league. If you're in a 16-teamer, a lot of those wide receivers, I talked about 5 or 6 of them, they're probably gone. They're probably rostered. And a guy like this is a breath of fresh air to you. You're looking to pick him up. Zay Jones might even be on waivers, and he's going to see more snaps, more targets, more opportunities, and might have some more upside, especially since he'll be on the field more with a lesser quarterback on the field. But if Trevor Lawrence is back, I think all these wide receivers might get an opportunity to cook a little bit. But you may need them if you want to stash them just in case you got that rookie fever, you got that FOMO, and you want to tap into it. Go ahead. It's your team, and you know what? You can always drop them if it doesn't work out, and you don't have to start them if you pick them up. But you don't need them. If you're in a 12-teamer, you don't need them. You don't need them because there's other fish in the sea right now at the wide receiver position. There are safer options on waivers. You don't have to pick them up. You only want to if that FOMO's hitting you very hard, and I understand about that, and you're scared that you're missing out on the next big thing, the next big breakout. That being said, if you got those feelings, go ahead and react off of them and just have them stashed, see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, just drop them. We only got so much more of the season, so much more until we're into the playoffs. Some of you are already in the playoffs. Don't get too fancy. Don't get too crazy. Keep it simple, stupid. There's a lot of good wide receivers here. Getting a basic target share that you can go off of. Pay attention to those wide receivers. But let me know what you're doing in the comments below. Drop it down there. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.